Hello, kia ora, g'day, I'm Philip Duncan from Weather Watch TV on YouTube with your Australia-only forecast right through until Thursday of next week. Now, most of the attention in this video is going to be in the southeast corner of Australia, from South Australia right over to the Tasman Sea. That's because low pressure is on the way there and it's going to be stalled by high pressure moving in towards New Zealand. So it's going to hang around for a number of days, several days in fact, with showers, rain, snow higher up, windy weather, and a big temperature drop. So that is the main feature of the video. Elsewhere, as you're going to see, not a lot going on. So please forgive me if I'm not talking about you, but I focus on where the weather is changing the most. So let's have a look and see what is going on here. We've got low pressure, or at least a big southerly out here in the Tasman, sparking lots of thunderstorms, but they're all mostly out at sea, brushing Lord Howe Island there. Some of them also brushing the coast of New South Wales right up to the southeast corner of Queensland. We've also got a cold front tracking along the south here, a few thunderstorms here and there, not a huge amount, not as many as there were when it was over around Perth and Bunbury. There were lots of thunderstorms in that area as it moved on through. Much of that now is tracking to the south, but this is the main feature, and it's going to get held up by this thing in the middle, this high pressure zone, which looks invisible here on the satellite map. So we'll jump to the air pressure map and you can clearly see it. So that high pressure system, that's why your temperatures are down. That's why we're seeing frosts in inland areas, and why coastal areas like Sydney, Brisbane, and all the way up into northern parts of Queensland getting that southerly. In fact, the southerly starts from well south of Tasmania and it goes all the way up to Papua New Guinea. So that is a very big southerly flow, and it's all around this high pressure system. Behind it, I was going to say hot on its heels, but that's probably not the right term. Low pressure coming in, and that's the one with the wintry weather coming in around it. You start to see here at the end of today the southerly flow coming into Western Australia. That's why we're seeing a few thunderstorms behind the front, northerlies of course ahead of it. So let's go into Friday, and this is the beginning of several days of showers and downpours coming in for areas that need it the most. Now, not so overly wet on Friday. Most of the blue you see here is at the lower end of the scale. But remember, there are a few isolated thunderstorms and downpours as this moves along and comes into Victoria. So there will be some isolated downpours that go above and beyond what you're seeing. Now, the blue line, the dark blue line here, some people find it a little hard to see on the screen with all the blue around it, but that is indicating the cold wintry part that comes up, and it brushes Port Lincoln. It comes into close to Adelaide, Kangaroo Island, getting that as we go into Friday afternoon. And again, preceding it, the windier, warmer nor'westers, which will be more westerly once you come up into the ACT, New South Wales, Sydney area. And then you've got high pressure pretty much smack bang over the top of Brisbane and the Sunshine Coast and the Gold Coast. That is expanding up into a large part of Queensland. But of course, the southerly in the Tasman turns around as a southeasterly or an easterly once it gets to the Coral Sea. But it may not be as warm as it's been as a result of the origins of where it's coming from. Elsewhere, pretty dry, maybe a couple of showers up here to the north. Let's go into Saturday. So high pressure is building in the very southwest of Australia. That expands right out into the desert, into the central part. Easterly flow on top of that, keeping the skies mostly dry and sunny around Western Australia, the Northern Territory, and a large portion of South Australia and Queensland as well. Few coastal showers remain in Queensland, but the further south you go, the winds change direction and they come out of the west. So that keeps eastern areas mostly dry, but we will be seeing downpours now coming into Victoria on the western side of the mountains and ranges. That will build up across the day, maybe up to 20 or 30 millimetres for you. Heaviest showers in the very southeast of South Australia, coastal parts of Victoria, where you could be seeing 20 or 30 millimetres. And for the dairy farmers in the northwest corner of Tasmania, some good rain coming through for you, maybe up to 40 millimetres for you on Saturday as that all comes through. And of course, there'll be snow up on the mountains and maybe a dusting of snow around the tops of Tasmania. On Sunday, it gets windier and colder. So basically all the way from Adelaide to Melbourne, this is the windy zone, strong southerlies, might be gale force in exposed areas, and heavy rain coming in from west of Melbourne to north and up into getting close to Canberra. And the rainfall totals again here lift up on Sunday. The totals are going up here, maybe in coastal parts of Victoria, 50 or 60 millimetres coming in for you here on Sunday alone. But it doesn't really rain much on the east. So if you're in Sydney, it's possible you might get some showers spilling over from the mountains and ranges, but really it's not a huge amount. But proper showery weather consistently coming through for you. And we jump to Monday of next week, not a great deal of change. Still plenty of showers from the very eastern part of southern Western Australia, all the way across South Australia, but of course Victoria once more, and some parts of New South Wales getting the heaviest of that rain, between 20 and 50 millimetres falling in some locations. And if you're in Tasmania, winter weather on Monday, southeasterly winds, windy gale force in exposed places, and we'll be seeing gales maybe coming into New South Wales as well as a windy westerly for you on Monday. The good news is a bit of a balancing act here for the dry areas getting the rain and the wet areas like the northern rivers seeing the driest kind of conditions. So there's a good balancing act here. On Tuesday, still very windy. Southwesterly winds blowing around New South Wales. So if you're on the coast, those winds come over the hills and they drop down, and once they're over the divide, they pick up speed. So you can see windier weather coming through there. More of a southerly coming into the eastern side of Victoria. Again, another 40 or 50 millimetres possible for those of you in some parts here of the very east, and some parts of Tasmania maybe see more than 50 millimetres because of this low deepening off the coast here. Elsewhere, not a huge amount going on. The showers carry on for South Australia. Every day is kind of showery. It's not necessarily huge totals, but each day it adds up, and that's important. Jump over to Western Australia. Here is the next southerly coming in because there's another high pressure system bulldozing its way on through. So by Wednesday, there is the next high coming closer into Western Australia, into the southwest. Windy southerlies all along the coastline here. They may also get up to gale force in the marine areas. South Australia, once more, seeing a few showers. Again, not widespread and not overly heavy, but you've still got another 1 to 5 millimetres building up here and there. And the rain does taper off now into Victoria and parts of Tasmania, mostly the northern half. Still wet around Hobart on the east coast though, and still wet also on the border between New South Wales and Victoria as you go out into the Tasman Sea. Also good to see some showers carrying on further into the outback. And some of those could have thunderstorms as well over the days all leading through here. Classic mix of cold weather and sort of warmer conditions that build up during the day inland. And once we get to Thursday, the next big low that's leaving Australia, moving off towards New Zealand, still driving in this very windy southeasterly for Tasmania. Could be squally showers, dusting of snow on the peaks, and maybe gale force conditions brushing the coast. And also Victoria and New South Wales, strong to gale force winds. Those southerlies are pretty brisk all the way over to Adelaide and Port Lincoln, where it's still windy, starts to turn more southeasterly, and then even around the coastal parts of Western Australia, still plenty of showers. We've got millions of viewers that I'm not talking about, and I'm well aware of that, because there's just not much happening in the east coast, other than that wind blowing through and the temperatures down. That's probably one of the main features, but pretty quiet for many large parts of Australia at the moment. So let's recap that rainfall for you. Here is the 7-day outlook, and you see how it really starts to build up. It sort of accumulates over the days. And so we're seeing some pretty decent totals of 80, 100 millimetres or more falling in some areas. So the purple zone here in the southeast corner, the very eastern side of Victoria, but also around Melbourne, further up in the hills to the northwest there, and to the southwest in the coastal zone, also could be seeing 100 millimetres of rain. We haven't seen totals like that for quite some time. And it goes right up to the border of New South Wales. So pretty much all of Victoria getting some sort of rain relief. It may not be very much here in the northwest, and also New South Wales getting rain relief. You'll see most of it is on the western side of the hills and the mountains. So bigger totals coming through for you. Maybe a few isolated thunderstorms here and there, and rainfall pretty good along the coastal part of Western Australia. But elsewhere, really not very much to talk about at the moment. All right, before I go, the place of the day, Denham, Shark Bay, right on the very middle western side of Western Australia in the Gascoyne. Westernmost publicly accessible town in Australia, population just 723, rainfall only 223 millimetres. You got none of that coming in the next 7 days. And the temperature's very pleasant, I think. Perfect temperature during the day, 23 to 25, and the overnight lows, perfect for sleeping. And that's all from me for this week. Have a great weekend. Look forward to seeing you again on Monday.